On the chairman's report, before I'd like to start with an item that was voted on and approved by the majority of the executive committee this summer, and I'm going to read you the context of what was discussed. This is a letter from me to Commissioner Wambaugh of the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, 100 Gold Street. I'm writing today, and this letter was dated July 17th. I am writing today in support of St. Nick's Alliance to acquire 112 Siegel Street, Block 3097, Lot 13, in Brooklyn, New York. As you know, 112 Siegel Street is a New York City-owned vacant lot. It was included in the list of sites outlined in the points of agreement signed by HPD arising from the 205 rezoning. It was originally designated to be developed by a private builder for affordable home ownership under the new foundation program. However, 7 years later, it remains vacant. St. Nick's Alliance intends to develop this property in conjunction with 5 other properties already owned or controlled by St. Nick's under the North Brooklyn Opportunities Project, called NBO. This project will consist of the construction of 5 new buildings and the preservation of 1 existing building with a total of 35 units of low-income housing within Community Board 1. Individually, the sites could not adequately be developed, but collectively, they create a viable project. The inclusion of 7 units at this site leads to the development of 28 units elsewhere in the community. St. Nick's Alliance is a local developer with strong ties to the community and a history of quality affordable housing development, and they are prepared to move forward with this project upon acquisition of this property with anticipated completion in the spring of 2013. Affordable housing is greatly needed in our community, and St. Nick's Alliance will help to fulfill that need now. Working for a better Greenpoint, Williamsburg, Christopher Olhowski, Chairman. I'd like a motion to approve this, that was already approved by Executive Committee, but I'd like an approval of the board. Willie? And, yeah, and Tish, ratifying actually. Same thing. But all in favor? Against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. All right, and just a few items briefly. In the executive, the chairman's report, this past summer was very, very busy for me, and was fun-filled in many ways. But here are some of the items that we've had to address, and some of the things that were happening. They were very, very rewarding, with some bumps in the road too. On June 28th, there was a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the McCarran Park Pool and Recreation Center that we attended. That was, of course, attended by Mayor Bloomberg and many of the members of the Department of Parks, OSA.
Yes, and the next day, didn't the local constabulary
So
had
forth.
to break up a
And
fight?
it was a grand opening. I think people who read about what happened with McCarran Park Pool know there was some bumps in the road. They had some scuffles, issues with maintaining security and order. And most recently, there was an article in the New York Times that stated, and I think it was pretty clear that although there were problems, they were addressed, and security was provided. I think there still needs to be some more issues that address how people should be prepared to behave when they attend the pool, and those issues were addressed at a future meeting that was held on July 25th by Council Speaker
That
Christine
nobody
Quinn.
knew about,
And this was
unless
also
of course they
sponsored
were
by
veto
Councilmember
persons, then
Steve
they were
Levin
invited.
and Assemblyman Joe Lento,
That's true.
in which members of the NYPD, Parks Department, Sanitation, union members, so forth, came to discuss what we can do. Some of
Veto
the items that were
proteges.
discussed
Oh
included
wait, Gropez.
maybe providing some form
Gropez.
of identification of patrons attending, whether it be tags or some form of ID, but to be able
Microchips.
to identify people who are there, not only for security reasons, but in the event that something happens to someone, to know what's going on. But that, of course, is an issue that has broader implications, because it would not be something just relegated to McCarran Park Pool. It would have to be implemented throughout the city in all pools. So that's still under discussion. But at the present time, the park, I think it was a period of adjustment. I think we still want to look forward in the future for a better signage, something larger, something that stands out earlier before people get to the pool itself, so that even if they're in line waiting to get in, they can actually understand what the regulations and the provisions are for behaving at a pool. And there was discussion about
Does that include
providing
not
them in
shading
several
it?
languages too, so that would be helpful. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it's moving along well from what we've heard so far. The other, one of the other outstanding issues that I addressed at the time was in July, there was a concern among businesses for traffic change for Nassau Avenue. The direction of traffic was flowing the same direction as Driggs Avenue. Everything was moving westward, and cars coming off, of course, the BQE, going down McGinnis Boulevard, could not make their right turns. And they were bypassing a very busy business section of Greenpoint, and business owners complained to me that they were losing anywhere from 30 to even 40% of their business. So we organized a petition, we met with the business owners, there was a little publicity around that, we spoke with the DOT and pushed for changing the direction, and that was implemented in middle of July. So that at least it's helping, the businesses somewhat, given the problem of the construction taking place right now anyway, but at least they have the access of business traffic going in their direction that they wished. Okay, and then we also held a meeting, I attended a meeting on July 17th with Assemblyman Lento regarding the alternate street parking regulations and the reduction of those regulations on Nassau area due to the construction. And there was some preliminary discussion. People were concerned that they won't be able to have enough parking spaces because of the construction, and they needed to have some relief. And there was a discussion, it was preliminary. More recently, I think sanitation and DDC are coming together to form a plan of a staggered alternate side street parking mitigation, if you will, or relief, so that the people who are parking can find ways of parking during the more congested periods of concrete placement and pavement and so forth along Nassau Avenue. And of course, and then of course September 5th, I attended the Land Use Committee meeting regarding the items that you have already heard. I think it was very important that people attended that and were able to get a good presentation and a good analysis from the committee on these items that you've heard today. And then of course, on September 10th, some of you may have attended, finally the ribbon cutting for the WNYC Transmitter Park, which I think was a
How
very
can you
important
attend
event
it if it isn't
because
announced?
It gave us another access to another open space that's so dearly and sorely needed in our community. And as much as everybody was involved in this process, let's remember that it was a long-standing process of how it came about that we have this park. And we went and looked at some history at the committee board, even before I was chair and before I was that heavily involved in community activity. But back in 1989, this property was almost auctioned off. And thanks to the efforts of then the commissioner, I think it was Commissioner Stern, but especially our district manager here, Jerry Esposito, and former chairman, Vincent Abate, they were able to preserve that piece of land for future use. And when things changed back after the rezoning, it became part of our commitment to public space. Money was found, and now we have a park. So it took years, but it was a good effort of people way back before, moving forward with plans, Parks Department moving forward with attempting to get funding, and other groups, of course, that pitched in, all the groups in the community, WAP, OSA, and others, to finally form what we wanted, a consensus of pushing forward a park that we can all be happy that we have for our families and children and people to enjoy. And we're gonna try to see if we can now go forward and get other parks open, of course, that we need, and we know that there's still a lot of challenges ahead on that.